this this Obama administration is starting to, I'll tell you what it's starting to do. Some of the decisions that are being made are starting to make me angry. In a way different from the anger I felt for 8 years with Bush Cheney. Maybe you feel the same way. That anger was visceral. It was gut level. It was explosive. It was more like rage than anger. Matter of fact, remember we talked about this, I don't know, a year and a half ago about rage fatigue? Remember that show? That was pure, unbridled rage. The anger I'm starting to feel about Obama is the kind of anger you feel when you feel betrayed. When you feel like a family member has betrayed you, or a lover has betrayed you, or a close friend has betrayed you. It's more personal with Obama. That's the problem. And I think a lot of people, a lot of Democrats are starting to feel that way, a lot of progressives, the sense of betrayal. And there's always anger that comes on the heels of betrayal. You know, it could be summed up in one phrase. How could you? Right? You know how that works. Have you ever been betrayed by a friend or a spouse, a lover, whatever? And that, how could you? How could you do that to me? Right? Isn't that what you say? How could you do that to me? What you're really saying is, why did you choose to make me hurt this badly? Right? Come on, we all been there. So that's what I'm feeling about Obama. I wish I could sit down with him for a few minutes and just say, how could you do this? How could you allow us to paint on your canvas? You knew what we were doing. You didn't do anything to stop it. You let us. You let, you were a blank slate. You didn't make any promises. You're right. You didn't. Your position on certain issues was crystal clear, though, wasn't it? Huh? Didn't you state categorically certain points of view about the Military Commissions Act, about the, what else? About habeas corpus, about detention without charges or trials, closing Guantanamo, yada, 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 just on and on. Didn't you take a pretty big stand, Mr. President, on human rights issues or legal rights, civil rights? Didn't you? You did. And, of course, you left enough wiggle room for us to rush in and color in all those spaces between what you were saying and the outlines of the picture that you were drawing. So I guess we have ourselves to blame. And that's why it feels like betrayal, you see. That's why it feels like a family member, a good friend, or a lover who has lied to you, cheated on you, betrayed you. Because we understand, don't we, that in those kinds of situations we're partly at fault. With Bush and Cheney, we had nothing to do with it. We had a couple of Nazis who had decided to absolutely goddamn destroy the country. And they did a good job of it, too, didn't they? Huh? Didn't they? This is different. This is betrayal. The latest... The Obama administration has let it be known that it may keep terrorism detainees, and you better put quotes around the word terrorism, even if they're brought to trial and are acquitted. Now, how does that grab you? Even if they're brought to trial and acquitted. Oh, I know what the sick, perverted rationale behind that. Well, we probably can't provide all the evidence needed to convict him because, state secrets and stuff, So, if they're found not guilty, if they're acquitted of the charges against them, the Obama administration now is saying they may keep them in prison anyway. Now, this is worse than preventive detention. This is worse than having extra time tacked on to a sentence because the judge feels like a prick and decides on the day that you're sentenced to add extra time just because you pissed him off in his courtroom. This is different. This is saying, okay, we're going to make available to you our legal system. And if you're found not guilty, it doesn't matter. We're going to keep you in jail. What? What? Department of Defense lawyer Jay Johnson told a Senate committee yesterday, quote, that releasing a detainee who has been tried and found not guilty was a policy decision officials would make based on their estimate of whether the prisoner posed a future threat, end quote. That's according to a report in the Wall Street Journal. I guess what they're saying is, look, we inherited this mess. Some of these people have been held for 7 years with no charges. They have been abused. They've been mocked. They've been belittled. Some of them have been tortured. If they're brought to trial and found not guilty and we release them, they're going to be so pissed off that they may just decide to pick up a bomb and blow up a building in the United States. That, I guess, is what this guy, Jay Johnson, Chief Department of Defense lawyer, was telling a Senate committee yesterday. I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, that doesn't wash. The reporter, the Wall Street Journal, notes that the Bush administration maintained the same stance. But, in the words of the reporter, the legality of that stance was never tested. Spencer Ackerman of the Washington Independent characterizes Johnson, the Chief Department of Defense lawyer, Johnson's responses as moving the Obama administration, quote, into new territory from a civil liberties perspective, end quote. New territory? No, it's old territory. You want to read about it? You can read some of it in To Kill a Mockingbird, which was fictional, sort of, based on a true story. You can look at the history of this country, various people who were denied legal rights, and when a mockery or a sham trial was held and the defendant was found not guilty, all of a sudden the White Citizens Council would show up before the prisoner could be released and drag the prisoner to the nearest square where there was a tall tree and hanged him. Is that too broad a statement? Am I taking this too far? No, hell no. The Obama administration is saying it may keep people in prison even after they have been acquitted, even after they have been found not guilty. The Obama administration may keep them in prison. Spencer Ackerman wrote, quote, asked by Senator Mel Martinez, Republican of Florida, the politically difficult but entirely fair question about whether terrorism detainees acquitted in courts could be released in the United States, Chief Department of Defense lawyer Jay Johnson said that, quote, as a matter of legal authority, the administration's powers to detain someone under the law of war don't expire for a detainee after he's acquitted in court, end quote. The administration's powers to detain someone under the law of war. The law of war? What would that be, Mr. Johnson? What is this law of war that you're referring to? Are you talking about the laws of war that we've been violating for the past 7 years? Those laws of war, is that what you're talking about? You're going to invoke them now? These people are starting to make me angry.